why should electromyographers learn about single fiber EFG? I mean, I have nothing against learning, but what is the major incentive to learn single fiber EFG, especially if he or she is not going to practice that technique?
Well, that's a very good question, but I think the answer is fairly straightforward. The principles involved in the generation of action potentials and their occurrence and their recording are common to all electromyographic procedures. And when one is familiar with the technique, one becomes a better electromyographer, whether you're using single fiber EMG or not. A good example of this is the importance of assessing the stability of motor unit action potentials during the routine EMG. When you have heard what increased jitter sounds like, and you can apply that information to the sounds produced by motor unit potentials, it's much easier to recognize that these potentials have unstable components. And if you then use some of the other basic things that are involved in single fiber EMG, such as triggering on the signal and increasing the low frequency filter and using a faster sweep speed, then you can more easily appreciate the stability or lack thereof of motor unit potentials. So that's one concrete example of it. But the other thing is, I think, as electromyographers, we need to be aware of all of the techniques that are available. And among other things, you need to know how to interpret a study, particularly if the results of a study are inconsistent internally. You need to know that there might be an error in the interpretation so that you can then assess the validity of that interpretation.
When we teach EMG, then we are already a little too late, since the listeners already have some experience from motor unit analysis and motor unit recording and so on and so on. And now we have to start from the beginning. It had been much easier if they hadn't known anything. It's very natural to start with the individual components, the building stones, and we say this is exactly what Don says, the action potentials and what it looks like. And now the motor unit potential is simply a temporal summation of these individual signals. Then it builds up a motor unit potential, and you can understand why they show the number of phases and all these things. So it is really the basic understanding of the generation of the motor unit potential.